All right, now tell me, now this tea-jacker thing, the word that you have coined and added to the Webster Dictionary, tell me a little bit more. That seems to be getting more and more out of hand.
Yeah, you know, we started out, we talked about this a little bit last week about an organization that was started by the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas called Liberty Central, where they were espousing to be kind of a big tent for the Tea Party movement and to be doing political scorecards. And so I contacted them to ask them, you know, what their stand was on the Second Amendment. And I'm still waiting to hear back. So I may resurrect that and publicly press on that again. Because, again, if somebody's going to be giving political scorecards, I'd like to know, hey, how do they score on the right of the people to keep and bear arms and the rest of the Bill of Rights? There's another organization, and it's called GOH. It's GOOH. And I just talked about that. It stands for Get Out of Our House. And what it does, it bills itself as a plan to remove all members of the U.S. House of Representatives and replace them with what they call everyday Americans. Well, it sounds real warm and fuzzy and kind of common sense and all that. And again, they've attached themselves to the right people. They've received endorsements from Lou Dobbs, from Dennis Miller. Someone from the Abigail Adams Project gave a keynote address about it to the Tea Party convention. And basically, what they say is that the GO process allows Americans of every political leaning to participate in the selection of the district's representatives while being considered themselves. And though GO's candidate selection sessions are through them, you and your peers will select the candidate in your district who best represents your district's views. Well, again, I thought that the Tea Party movement was supposed to be about freedom, and I don't necessarily see how representing the views of a district in San Francisco or Chicago or Newark, New Jersey is necessarily in the interest of people who are interested in smaller government and recognition of the Bill of Rights. So again, you know, if you're going to be attaching yourself to the Tea Party movement, you know, during the Clinton campaign, when he unseated Bush the Elder, his campaign people came up with a phrase, "It's the economy, stupid." And what I maintain is it's the Constitution, stupid. That if we take care of binding government down to the very clear chains and prescriptions and the enumerated delegated powers that are in the Constitution, and if we insist on recognition for all of the Bill of Rights, then things like out-of-control government spending will take care of themselves. Now, the other thing is we also have to be careful with just the knee-jerk reaction of people who call themselves Republicans and people who call themselves, you know, conservatives, attaching themselves to the movement and claiming leadership and redirecting it to where it's all same old, and all of this wonderful energy that we see happening doesn't dissipate and go into maintaining the status quo. And by that I mean, you know, all you need to do is take a look at the head of the Republican Party, Michael Steele, and I'm going to read you a quote. He says, "What do you need an assault weapon for if you're going hunting? That's overkill. But I don't think that means you go to a total ban for those who want to use a gun for skeet shooting or hunting or things like that." Well, James, you know, God bless you. You're a hunter. That's wonderful. But you and I both know that the Second Amendment ain't about hunting. Right. And this is something that, you know, they sometimes will use to pander to gun owners. You'll see John Kerry out there in the field with a shotgun, or Bill Clinton or someone like that, and they'll say, well, just because the guy likes to hunt ducks or something like that, that means he's one of us. That's not necessarily the case. Yeah. Another person who has attached himself is Mitt Romney, who is, you know, considered kind of a leading front runner for the Republicans for, you know, a likely presidential run. And I'm going to read you something else. He says, "Deadly assault weapons have no place in Massachusetts," Romney said at a bill signing ceremony with legislators, sportsmen's groups, and gun safety advocates. Read that, gun grabbers, okay? "These guns are not made for recreation or self-defense. They are instruments of destruction with the sole purpose of hunting down and killing people." Well, now, hold on. You know, I've got semi-automatic firearms, and I, you know, take that as just a gross insult. And I know that Romney has tried to clean up his image a bit. I know that he addressed the NRA convention. I know that he appeared at a gun show with some of the NRA leadership. And now what he's out there doing is he's telling the Tea Partiers that if they don't get the candidate that they want in the primaries, to just sideline yourself, just stay out of it and turn things over and don't ruin our wonderful prospects as Republicans. And again, I have to look at that, and I look at a race like in Illinois, where current Representative Mark Kirk, who authored a federal assault weapons ban, and I use assault weapons with quotes around it because you and I both know they're not true assault weapons, and now he's running for the Senate, and he's got the Republican nomination locked up. And I'm sorry, but I do not want Mark Kirk to be senator. I do not want to send the message to the Republicans that they can continue to betray us and bring in candidates who are every bit as much our enemy as Carolyn McCarthy or Chuck Schumer or anyone like that. You know, the former head of the GOP, the late Lee Atwater, is reputed to have said about gun owners something to the effect, who else are they going to vote for? Well, you know what? If we continue to reward betrayal, what is the incentive to ever see change? And just possibly, if Republicans learn that they need to forward principled candidates, then maybe that will give them some pressure to change. Because the bottom line on all this is, if you support the party, just in general, at either the state or the national level, you know, all boats rise with the tide. Everyone benefits from that, including those who don't deserve it. Okay, and what I maintain is, you're trying to give political power, tremendous power over your life to this person. Why would you do that to someone who you can't trust with power? Why would you instead not reward those people who have earned it? And it seems to be just basic common sense. Yeah. And if we're not going to do that, then I guess my question is, what is this Tea Party movement all about? What is this anger all about? Right. If we're just going to get out there and we're going to wave signs and flags and we're going to vent our anger and we're going to say we want change, and then we end up settling for same old, why don't we just, you know, go back to sleep, turn on the television set and you know, get a good sitcom or Dancing with the Stars and just forget about being...
You know, David, the other thing that kind of worries me, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but the other thing that kind of worries me is that the more and more organizations that become involved with the Tea Party and then sort of like almost kind of take away from and actually diminish somewhat the emphasis of the Tea Party by branching into different areas that they are having an agenda for.
And my whole thing is that if the central agenda is not the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, then we're following a false doctrine that's not going to get us anywhere, and it's not going to end up putting us in a better place. We're still going to end up with out-of-control government that abuses its authority, that usurps power, and that rules more and more aspects of our lives. So unless and until we as a people learn what the law truly is and what our rights truly are, learn the Constitution, learn how it developed, learn the thinking of the framers, you know, read the Federalist Papers and see what the debates were about. Know yourself so that we can do, as Patrick Henry told us, to guard with jealous attention the public liberty. We can't do that if we don't know what it is. And we can't just automatically assume that the white knight is going to ride in with all the answers and save us with some kind of platform or some kind of program. We need to be informed. We need to be involved. It is part of our civic duty if we want to consider ourselves to be citizens as opposed to just pawns. And that's a personal decision that I guess we all have to make. But we need to be informed, and then we need to draw our own lines in the sand and just make sure that if people cross those lines that there are repercussions.
Yeah, exactly.